It's a new year, so let me start by saying Happy New Year! And welcome to Civic Band 2020 Deliciously 5. 2025, Happy New Year. Welcome to Civic Band, brought to you by Budget. My name is Nancy Odimegu, yours truly. And yes, we have a very special guest that's going to be opening the floor for us this year, 2025. I don't even know the slogan we're going to use 2025 for, because 2024 they say no grief for anybody. So 2025 will be, I don't want to say what's coming to my mind, but anyways, welcome guys. It's been a long time coming. Hope you enjoyed your break, Christmas, New Year. We have in the house gender and research analyst for Budget Foundation, Oludamilola Onemano. Hi, Dami.
Hi, Nancy.
Something is coming to my mind. Go, Dami, go, Dami, go.
Go, Dami, go, Dami,
Go,
go.
Dami, go, Dami, go.
Go, Dami, go, Dami,
I spray you
go.
money, I spray you money, I spray you money.
I don't like Batman.
It's virtual money. Welcome. So nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Anywho's, today we're beginning the year with a conversation focusing on women, and how, or let's say, empowering Nigerian women. We know that many times they want to have conversation about key issues, economy issue. They just, sue women segment, how do you don't push them to the core? Like, they don't really prioritize them. They don't feel that women suppose day for this conversation, or you have people in leadership, 90% men, 10% women, and all of those things. So the first question coming to my mind is, why are women always not being prioritized when it comes to issues like this?
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you for having me on this program. It's very interesting that we are starting with women, especially in a time like this in 2025. We are in an era where things are evolving, and we can't say we are where we were 20, 30 years ago. But I believe that there is so much room for improvement for women in Nigeria. Why are women excluded?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a question of, since time immemorial, that women are always excluded. We've lived in a patriarchal society. By patriarchal, I mean a society that places a man, or places the ideology of a man way above that of a woman, or places the opinions of men way above. So it subordinates a woman. It makes a woman the lower
of the two.
Yeah. So, and at the end of the day, as much as we would like to say we want equality, we need fairness, because women peculiarities are way different from that of men, right? And when we don't have a lot of women in the decision-making society or in the decision-making table, we don't have women being at the top committees that make some of these decisions for us.
Yeah.
We find out that women are still always going to be left aside. So when you have people who cannot fit in those shoes that we walk in every day, people who do not menstruate, giving out policies for menstruation, people who do not carry pregnancies, but they're giving out policies on abortion, giving out policies on maternal care, reproductive care, and all of that, you find out that the problems are not being tackled. You're just doing like a surface kind of there's no solution, because you have no idea of what the intricate experience. Yes, so having women at the topmost echelon of the society is going to be something that helps us as a country. Whether it's in politics, I believe Nigeria has gone beyond just fighting for the 35% affirmative action. So when I say 35% affirmative action, it simply means that in the Senate, the National Assembly, it should comprise of 35% of women, right? But up till date, we don't even have up to 10%. How much more than like 5%, right? And we have gone beyond that, right? When we look at ourselves, when we look at ourselves as a country, we should have women even taking 40, 50, 60% of these seats, right? But then you're seeing a Senate having just 4 women.
Senate of about 360, I'll be 108.
109.
109.
So you
Can you imagine?
So, and then maybe at the national, the House of Representatives, where they have almost 360, having just like 15 women. Right? So when a woman like that now stands up to raise her voice, to say what is a burden to other women, it's more like, On the 300, you just shut
shut
it down,
down.
and then you tell you to
Yes,
sit
sit
down, and
down.
all of that. So when we have women in steering committees, and not even just in government, in our private organizations, in board of directors meeting,
Yeah.
or all the CEOs and management boards and all of that, when we don't have women being at the forefront, or women taking up these positions, or women even actively being pushed to take up these positions,
Yeah.
basically we're not pushing for better societies. You will see that in organizations where you have more women in management board, you find that their sexual harassment policies always are implemented rightly, right?
Yes.
So it's something, so many things are not really overlooked. Their gender and inclusion policies are being implemented rightly in those organizations. So yes, it is very important that we have women at the top, and when we do, you'll find out that they are not being excluded in so many ways.
Thank you. Even this sexual harassment policy that you mentioned, there are some organizations that do not even have it.
Yes.
They don't even see that they need to have it.
Sexual harassment policies, some offices don't even have as bad as secluded spaces for women. So you have a space to say, oh, this is your restroom, and
Yes.
the door for woman and the door for man is almost in the same place, right? Like it's more of, some offices don't even have provisions for like toiletries, special toiletries for women, because they assume that everybody's just going to use a tissue paper and hand wash, and there's nothing like, oh, or making provisions for panty liners, or making provisions for sanitary pads and all of that. So basically, it's not just at the government level, it's even in our tiny organizations.
And even in our
our
everyday
homes.
life. Yes.
Yes, and even in our homes, you'll find out that, yep. And many times we watch some of our parents, they try to, when they want to make decisions, it's more of, oh, until daddy has said this, until daddy has said, and then they'll watch it and say, oh, mommy really doesn't have that footing in making decisions. It doesn't happen in all homes, but we still see it sometimes in some homes. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so now let me ask about the challenges, the primary challenges that are preventing women from fully participating in, let's say, economic activities now in Nigeria.
Okay, first of all, would say women make up 49% of the population of Nigeria. And if we even go by recent statistics, I want to believe we're already at 50 or almost 51% of the population of Nigeria. And imagine 50% being, would I use the word disenfranchised, or being neglected? They are not being prioritized. This same set of women, 70% of them make up the population of people who are multidimensionally poor in the country. So imagine women who are poor, they are uneducated. In terms of literacy, women have the highest number. I think about 57% of women are illiterate in the country.
Wow.
In terms of digital literacy as well, about just 35% of women have access to internet, access to smartphones. Just about 45% of women have bank accounts. You might think that, oh, as small as bank accounts, everybody should have it. But honestly, no. And I feel like it's even when we had this cash crunch in 2023, that everybody started to say, oh, let's do money points, let's do OPay, let's do Ampay, let's do Kuda. That's when you start to see, especially women in the informal sector, market women and all of that, having some of these bank accounts. But previously to that, it was very, very low. I think about 35-25% of women that just had bank accounts. Women don't even have knowledge of what financial products are there in the market. They don't have, with empowerment, with contributing to the economy, it goes beyond just buying and selling. How are you making good financial decisions that impact on your businesses? What are you making good financial decisions that improves your productivity, that improves investments, that improves your savings and all of that, right? So yes, we would say major challenges is that the access that women have to different opportunities there's a great disparity when it comes to that of men. Even in terms of education, when you say, oh, women are enrolling in school, boys are enrolling in school, you find out that girls are lesser that enroll in school. Girls are even now more lesser than the ones that complete the school. Yes, so I can enroll out of 10.5 million kids that are out of school, 6.4 million are girls.
Mm.
And then for primary education, you say, oh, you want about 70 something boys enrolling, but yet you have less than 50 enrolling for girls. And then people who are even completing secondary school, so they can even complete primary school, but they don't complete secondary,
Yeah, really.
right? So it's a lot of disadvantages. First of all, in terms of literacy or poverty, most times when there is any form of disaster, there is any form of economic crisis, there's any form of global crisis, women are the first hit. Women and children are the first hit. They suffer more in terms of all of this, right? So when we look at it, it's more of how do we now empower these women to come out of poverty and then also now foster economic development in the country.
Wow. See, I'm even like, what's the
It's
English?
deep.
It's deep. It's very deep. But I mean, it's a good thing that the International Women's Day is just around the corner. So, what policies are there? Any policies, in fact, that like favor women and make you like, like advocate for their rights? Are there any policies like that that promotes women economic empowerment in Nigeria?
So when we say advocates for women's rights, we have the constitution normally. We have the VAP Act, that is the um,
Violence.
Violence Against
Against-
Persons Prohibition Act.
Yes.
We have the National Women Economic Empowerment Policy, and that's a very interesting policy, which I'll just give like a brief overview on. The National Women Economic Policy and Action Plan is a policy that was signed in by the President Muhammad Buhari before he left the office. And this policy is now currently backed by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and it really aligns with their whole renewed hope agenda, right? And the policy looks at how we can close different gender gaps, whether in terms of education, whether in terms of financial literacy, digital literacy,
Yeah.
in terms of agriculture, entrepreneurship. It will surprise you to know that in the labor force for agriculture, women make up to 70% of that labor force. But however, only 10% of them own their lands.
Hmm.
So they either have to
The land.
own the land.
Okay.
Yes. They either have to go rent lands or find a way to have lands to actually practice that form of
business.
agriculture.
Yeah.
And you'll find out that despite the fact that there are a lot making up the agricultural labor force, they are still not the ones that are in the major markets, like in the export markets for agriculture. They're still doing the small scale farming, the subsistence farming, and all of that. So how this policy is now very multidimensional because it looks at women in agriculture. How can women access lands? How can women access subsidized products like crops, like seeds, like fertilizers, like pesticides? How can women move to the high value chain markets? How are they able to export these products? How are they able to produce in large quantities? How are they even able to meet collective groups that they can come together to put their products together to also export to other countries or to export out of the country or into producing in different refined other products? Yes. So this women in agriculture also looks at land policies, like how can they reform land policies within different states to ensure that women also have access to land. And then security, norms and barriers, like all these social cultural norms that prevent women from farming or prevent women from owning lands. This policy delves into it and also brings up interventions that addresses these barriers. The policy also looks at women in entrepreneurship. You know that women have a problem in accessing capital.
Yeah.
We think a lot about how women can start businesses, how women can venture into different things, but we don't think about how it is difficult to access capital. When you go to collect loans, the criteria are a lot, collateral is a lot. Many people don't even have those collateral to give. And then when you now say, oh, they are giving out grants, some women don't even know that these grants exist. So access to information is one thing that this policy seeks to address. That's just one. Access to capital is also one thing that the policy seeks to address. How can women get loans? How can women get funding and capital for their investments? How can they also get grants? as much as possible, the government needs to work with private institutions to be either incentivize them on how they can work with these women to either get grants or get loans, and then we can have more better entrepreneurs in the country. Hmm. Another part of the policy is long actually. Another part of the policy talks about women in traditional labor markets. And I'm sure when you think
Like
about
traditional labor.
traditional labor markets, you're thinking what exactly? Which market is new? Which market is traditional? We're looking at women in mining, women in agriculture,
okay.
women in engineering, all these professions that have dated way back, women in architecture and all of that. Women in predominantly male-dominated sectors. Yes. So it's how can women delve more into this? How can we have women not just participate, but women rise up into leadership positions in these areas? Because if we have more women in those areas, we'll also find out that when you have more mentors who are women, you're able to bring up more younger ones who can take up such positions in the future. The policy also looks at women in emerging industries. So I talked about traditional labor markets.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about emerging industries. Emerging industries, we're looking at tech.
Okay.
We're looking at entertainment. We're looking at fashion. How many women are movie producers?
Yeah, forget.
I'm just, yes, everybody says, oh, we have Funke, we have Moabudu, we have Messi Aigbe, we have Toyin Abraham. But the truth is, when you compare the ratio to what you have of men, it still doesn't measure up, right? What are the barriers that women face in terms of coming up in these emerging industries? In terms of fashion, what are the barriers they face? Are there some form of sexual harassment? Are there some form of not even sexual harassment? It could be some degradement that they face, or it could just be some intimidation, yes, or discrimination that they face in venturing out into these spaces, right? So this policy looks at all of that. It also looks at women in STEM. So when I say STEM, women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? So as much as we have a lot of girls going to study engineering nowadays, a lot of girls going to study mathematics, truly it is still not a measure to the amount of men that go into such fields. This is more like encouraging people to say, oh, we need you in these fields. And this policy is also looking at ensuring that we have up to 40% of women graduating in STEM fields. Right now we're at 22%. So if by 2028 this policy is fully implemented, we will have women up to 28 and 40%.
Meaning the universities will have no choice but to, have as much women candidates as they have as the male applicants.
So there'll be some incentives to increase quotas for admission for ladies coming to those fields. And then lastly is women in women's education and skill acquisition. The truth is, you can do agriculture, you can do emerging industries, labor, you can do entrepreneurship. If the women are not fully educated, whether it's from the primary, from the secondary, from the vocational, from the technical colleges, from the universities, if they are not fully educated on the primary things they need, the truth is we're just wasting our time. So ensuring that women are educated, ensuring that girls are fully enrolled in school, ensuring that the barriers that stops girls from going to school, simple things as having female teachers. You find out that in some areas, they don't allow their girls to go to school because they don't want men to be teaching their daughters, right? So improving the number of female teachers you have in a school, ensuring that they are capable to teach as well as their male counterparts is essential for us as a country. Ensuring that the infrastructure is also built enough to allow the girls to stay and remain and retain in the school is actually important, because you find out that some girls don't go to school during their time of their monthlies because they say, oh, we don't have proper toilets or proper toilet facilities to be able to change, and we don't want to do that in front of the boys or share the male bathrooms. These are just some little things. Yeah, women go through a lot too. These are just some little things that when we think about it, it hinders girls from going into education. And then creating more vocational hubs. Not everybody can go to university. Not everybody will get a degree or a master's degree. But then ensuring that we have enough vocational hubs to say, am I going to learn carpentry? Am I learning plumbing? Am I learning construction self, what all of these things is not just something that we just go and say, I'm going to sit down under one Olga and I will learn it and I've perfected it. No, no, no. Yes, as much as it has helped us over the time in this country, we should have enough vocational hubs in the country. And another thing should also be increasing the quota that admits women into technical colleges.
Okay.
We have a lot of technical colleges. Improve on them, but also increase the quota that admits women. And to round it up, all of these pillars that I have mentioned: agriculture, entrepreneurship, emerging industries, labor markets, and then the education, and it all boils down to them having financial literacy. It all boils down to them having digital literacy and access. It all boils down to them having good support structures in their workplaces, in their homes, in their societies, in their communities. And it all boils down to us having a representative, data-driven government. Because if we don't have data-driven governance, we don't know the number of women that are disenfranchised. We don't know the number of vulnerable women. We don't know the number of women that will need help in the country. So basically, the whole policy is encompassing to say we're touching every base, and truly we're hoping to see that the policy is fully implemented by 2028 and Nigeria will have a better economy possible.
Wow. You don't want to drink water?
I want to drink. If you give me juice, I will drink juice.
So I know, because so I want to just ask you one more question and then we wrap it up. Now you've said a lot, you've covered all the angles. I mean, even the next question I had in mind at this point, they're necessary. So how do all of these translate into economic development? Like if all of these are in place, will Nigeria economy be better? Just put it in very plain and simple.
So when we I feel like it's almost self-explanatory, because when you have women participate as actively as men, we're increasing the productivity of Nigeria. And the problems we face in Nigeria, a lot of problems, whether it's exchange rate, inflation, is boils down to productivity in the country. The best way we can boost our GDP is not by borrowing, it's not by devaluing the naira, it's not by increasing interest rates and all those monetary policy gibberish that they speak.
No, it's not all by.
Yeah, no, it's not all by that. It's more of increasing productivity. How are we ensuring that we're producing for ourselves in the country? What are we selling? What are we selling to ourselves? What are we selling outside? And how can we do that? Is by getting everybody on board to produce. We have a large labor.
All hands on deck.
Yes, all hands on deck. We have a large labor force, but we also need a productive labor force. We don't just need labor force. Labor force is different from labor force, because you can have labor force that do not have the technical know-how on how to do things. I do not have the innovative spirit on how to ensure that you're taking things to the next level, right? So when we have women who are advanced in agriculture, who are using the proper tools for agriculture, who are producing not just for their families and across small scale, they are producing for export purposes. They are reaching the high value chain, whether in terms of crops, cash crops, in terms of livestock, whatever it may be, they are reaching the highest heights.
Yes.
Whether they are processing it for storage or whatever, we are addressing food security issues.
Well, yes, that's true.
We're addressing export issues,
unemployment issues.
Yes. We're addressing poverty issues.
Yes.
Whether it's even in entrepreneurship, when we have so many people producing more, our taxes are also the tax returns are also going to increase.
Yes.
Yes, because our revenue will skyrocket at the end of the day. Or when we have women taking more positions in male-dominated sectors, it will be that, everybody's hand is on ground. Everybody is able to produce. Everybody is able to do what it is that they're meant to do. And when we have more people that are educated, or more people that can make smart decisions, financial decisions, digital decisions, and all of that, it simply means that, looky.
But then up and
yes, and even the World Bank has said that if by 2030 women can participate in the economy as fully as men, our GDP will grow an extra $229 billion.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot. And if we don't have any strategy without all of this, we're not going to we're just going to waste our time, right? So the truth is, we can speak all this English. If they don't implement this policy well,
we'll be where we were.
Akose.
All right, thank you so much, Oludamilola Manuel. It's been nice having you. Thanks for being our first guest on Civic Band for 2035. Let us do our anthem for you. Go, Dami, go, Dami, go.
Very good, and I but even not give me juice.
Wait, calm down, man. The next time you come, we will give you juice. It's the women economic empowerment we're talking about.
So the good stuff.
Well, sir, I'm not. Oh. All right. So just give us your shout out before you go.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for having me, Nancy Odimegu, on Civic Bands. My name is Oludamilola Onimano, and I'm the gender and research analyst for Budget Foundation. I really loved being here and talking about the women economic empowerment policy. See you guys some other time. Bye.
All right, thank you so much, Dami. On that note, we'll be calling it quits on today's episode. Watch out for next episode. Actually, we're talking about something really interesting regarding effective service delivery in Nigeria. Don't forget to follow us on all socials at Budget NG, and then listen to our Civic Band on YouTube, podcast, Spotify, well, all other apps as well. My name is Nancy Ademego, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.